Hello, I'm Amara Jones, and today is Monday, April 20th. This is Caffeine TV, your daily news brief, here to take you through three headline numbers in just 3 minutes, giving you a different take on everything from housing policy to the Real Housewives. The first number of today is 700. That's the number of people feared dead after a migrant boat accident in the Mediterranean yesterday, perhaps making it the worst migrant boat sinking in European Union history. As many as 950 people are feared to have possibly drowned when it's all said and done. Now, most of those on the ship were from Africa and the Middle East, escaping unstable parts of those regions for a better life in Europe, joining the nearly 107,000 people each year, according to the BBC, who make that journey. But it's indeed a dangerous one. Just last week, 400 people died from a similar sinking made perilous by unscrupulous agents who charge thousands of dollars per migrant, crowding them on unsafe ships with no food and no water. There's an emergency meeting of the European Union today to figure out how to stop it. Now, the irony in all of this is that Africa and the Middle East economically have never had it so good. As a matter of fact, the majority of the fastest growing countries economically on the planet are in Africa, but both of them have regions that are made into wrecks by extremism and extremist groups like ISIS and Boko Haram. And all of that is just a reminder of, to paraphrase Martin Luther King, that injustice anywhere spreads injustice everywhere. The next number of today is 168. That's the number of people killed 20 years ago yesterday in the bombing of the Murrah Federal Office Building in Oklahoma City, in what was, until 9/11, the worst incident of terrorism to ever take place on American soil. However, it still is the worst case of domestic terrorism to ever occur in the United States. In front of a memorial of 168 empty permanent chairs, a ceremony took place in which the names of each victim was read aloud, and where President Clinton, who was president of the United States at that time, told those gathered that he and Hillary Clinton had gone to visit their granddaughter the night before to remember what those there had lost. 19 children and babies were killed in the blast. Now, while each of those in the domestic terrorism cell that executed the attack were either put to death or jailed, the fact is that during President Obama's time in office, the numbers of those in militia groups have increased by 700%. Well, all we can hope is that with yesterday's memorial, that Oklahoma City-like events are a thing of the past. The last number of today is 130, and it's the latest incident of Really, Indiana. That's the number of cases from an outbreak of HIV in rural Indiana's Scott County, labeled by the CDC as one of the worst outbreaks of HIV in recent history, and it was entirely preventable. Now, the problem here is that Indiana forced Planned Parenthood to close a string of rural health clinics, and that, combined with the ban on needle exchange in the state, created the conditions for the outbreak. In rural Indiana, HIV is mainly a product of unclean needles being passed back and forth. Now, Governor Mike Pence of religious freedom fame has signed a 30-day allowance of needle exchanges in Indiana, even though he opposes needle exchange overall. But it'll probably have to be made permanent in order to make a real difference in this current outbreak. Well, let's just hope that Indiana on this gets its act together, because lives hang in the balance.